So in today's Tech Talk, I really want to talk about why we needed to upgrade to Windows 10, because I know that's a question that a lot of people have had, and there have been few explanations up until this point. Well, let me first explain that the whole process behind a Windows 10 upgrade was not just because we wanted a new operating system or one that looked newer. It really has nothing to do with how it looks or how it functions. It really has to do with the security behind Windows 10 versus something like Windows 7. So it's something that was really necessary to ensure that our network was secure and that you would have continuous access to all of your online resources. Your students would be able to appropriately get online. And let me explain that. Windows 7 is very similar to what Windows 2000 and Windows XP was. Now, there's been some minor security updates, but for the most part, what would have affected Windows XP back in 2001 would still affect Windows 7 today. And here's why. A lot of times when an operating system upgrades or comes out, hackers immediately start exploiting the weaknesses in it. So the longer an operating system is around without a major update, the more susceptible it is to this. Now, with that said, one thing that we have to keep in mind, Windows 7, as far as programming, is very similar to XP, so that means that hackers essentially had since 2001. So let's just not even count the first few years, so more than 15 years of good time with the operating system to be able to exploit these weaknesses. That is a long time to try to find a way to send a virus over a network without somebody else knowing. You know, it's something that you have to keep in mind. People are resourceful that are going to engage in these acts. So that was why it became necessary to upgrade to Windows 10. Windows 10, on the other hand, is very different in how it's actually programmed versus Windows 7. So the same weaknesses in security that Windows 7 have, they don't work for Windows 10. So hackers essentially had a clean slate. They had to start over once again whenever Windows 10 came out. So that was why it became necessary to upgrade, because even in the news you see this. We had a ransomware attack in Mecklenburg County, and then now this week we've seen Atlanta, we've seen Baltimore. We don't really want to willingly put ourselves out there to be victims to this type of behavior and this type of attack. So this is our way of responding to that and trying to get ahead of the curve, as opposed to waiting and seeing if we'll be affected, because eventually something like this will happen if we didn't upgrade. So that is really the short explanation of why we needed to upgrade to Windows 10. The goal was to really keep things running as smoothly as possible for students and teachers in the long run. And I'm sorry for the inconvenience that you had initially, but hopefully this will save us from a much worse attack in the future, to where our network could be down for days, weeks, and even months.